Hi there, I'm Rebecca and a really warm welcome back to my channel, PumpkinBecki. In this week's video we're going to be having a look back at my little collection of Cotoneaster horizontalis, see how they're getting on and maybe do a repot or two. Let's get started. My Cotoneaster horizontalis collection started with this, the mother tree, and I did an air layer from it, and then from that air layer I took another air layer, and I've also got potfuls of cuttings that I am hoping will survive and go on to grow into their own little trees. Back in May 24 I decided to do an air layer from this air layer and take the top off, which was this piece. Now I'm afraid I couldn't wait for you to be able to take the air layer off because it started to look like it was struggling. We were losing leaves all over the place. The plastic that was surrounding the air layer had become loosened and the moss inside had completely dried out, which was not great. I scratched a bit of bark, checked that we still had life, which we did, and decided I was just going to do an emergency removal of the top section, which is what we have here. It's pushing out new leaves, so hopefully I made the right decision there by removing that. As I said in that last video, Cotoneaster are incredibly tolerant. I mean, that's why they use them in council car parks as hedging, because they will withstand so much harassment, and I really do think that makes them an excellent subject for beginners, because you can do so much to them. They naturally have these tiny little leaves which just help. You haven't got to worry about trying to scale those leaves down on your own. It does that bit for you. Now if you want to see a really amazing big Cotoneaster horizontalis, I think it's a horizontalis anyway, it looks a lot like it, a really big amazing one, if you go to Grow Bonsai, and Darren has a huge beautiful tree that he's working on at the moment. It's got a wonderful twisted trunk and he's doing that into a cascade. I think that was one of his most recent videos. I'll pop a link to it in the description down below, but you will also see his channel name underneath me right now. He's got a wonderful channel, so much knowledge. I think you really need to go and have a look around his channel as well. So that's the most recent air layer. Brilliant. Who's to say I won't take an air layer off that? But we'll let this one settle its roots in before I start thinking about things like that. Its mother is this tree, which you can see the cut point. These branches got quite suppressed because they were underneath all the plastic. But again, lots of buds forming, lots going on, so all looks good to me. This is the first air layer I took. It's the one with the funny little kicked out root that I talked about last time. I'm trying to put more movement into it with wire. I'm pretty sure that clip and grow is the way to go with these, but I thought if I can get the initial trunks bending a bit more, get a bit more interest into those, then I could build quite happily onto that structure. You can see I've got lots of cuttings sitting in here. Sometimes when you're working it's easier to do that than set up a whole new tray of cuttings. All I simply did, as I was trying to reduce the length of some of the summer growth, I just clipped those branches off, stripped the bottom leaves off, popped them into some hormone rooting gel, and then popped those straight into the soil here. we should know fairly soon whether they have taken or not. And then, just to contradict myself, I got a little pot full of them as well. So what can I do right now? I can't do anything with the most recent air layer. I don't even know if it's got surviving roots. There's absolutely no point, no reason, no justification for trying to do anything to this. The wire that's on it is just simply keeping it secure in the pot, because any rocking will just mean that any root growth I have got completely fails, so we don't want that. So it's just secured into the pot. It's also here in the greenhouse, just making sure that it's not suffering the joys of winter. Its mother will have been through quite a bit, so I won't touch this one today. This one got potted up into this pot to try and help the trunk expand a little bit, so I don't think I want to touch that this year. I'm going to let it carry on doing its thing. My hope is that it's going to be a Mame cascade, but I do really want a bit more girth on that trunk before I start trying to do anything. Now, somebody did suggest to me that you could try hitting the trunk with something to try and make it put on a bit of scar tissue, try and beef it up that way. I'm nervous about that, but I'm prepared to give it a try. I'm not quite sure what to do. I think I might just try giving it a squeeze with some normal pliers, see if that does something. These pliers have got serrated jaws, so I suspect they will do a little bit of damage to the bark, which is then where the scar tissue is going to grow onto. And I'm just sort of going to, I don't know, tap it up and down on them. I guess if you've got a bigger tree you could actually hit it, but this is such a little thing. So I'm going to focus that sort of low down near the soil, as near the soil as I can. I don't think I want to do any more than that. I get the concept, I'm just a bit nervous about doing it. Hopefully you can see from here that what I've been trying to do this past season is really compact the growth of this by the use of quite a strong wire. Really make twists and turns that are quite tight, double back on each other. I've got a little bit of cracking here at this point where I took the first air layer off this, and I probably don't want to try and push that angle any further, but that doesn't mean that I can't keep pinching in other pieces of growth. I think that when we did it last time we pretty much had it coming over this side of the pot, and you can see it's now actually pointing 90 degrees away in that direction. So that means that today's real work is going to focus on the mother tree, the original, the OG. It's in one of these cheap Chinese pots that lots of trees get imported into the country in, and I genuinely can't remember where this came from. I've got a feeling it was something that self-seeded itself into the garden, and I thought, ooh, I could use that for something. It is in very soily substrate, and I definitely want to get that changed out and move it into some akadama. My dream for this tree is that it becomes a little mame. What I'd quite like to see today is what I've actually got. I've got crazy roots going on. Does any of that need to come off? This root is huge. Let's get it out of the pot and see what we're dealing with. I'm not even 100% sure how it's wired in. think the best thing for me to do to get this out is to start trying to scratch away the soil that is right round the edges. We seem to have a little bit of a dip in here. Whether that actually continues down into the pot, I'm not sure. The best thing to do is investigate first. This is rammed full of roots. I've no recollection as to how long this has been in here. No wonder I had trouble getting any water into it. There's some akadama and pumice and lava in the soil that's coming out, but I don't think it's... If anything, it's probably just where I was hole filling rather than I potted it into proper bonsai soil. I'm going to give it a pull. Ooh. Oh, wowee. That is all root. Wow. And it's as light as a feather. Yikes. Okay. Let's see if I can just sort of get into these roots a little bit without having to just cut away at the edges. I'd rather actually see what I've got than just hack at them for the sake of it. I mean, they're kind of breaking apart anyway. Well, that is a bonkers root system. I have created a split here, unfortunately, in the trunk, so I'm going to remove this bit. It's way away from the tree, so I don't think I actually want this section of root anyway. And then I think I'll pop some callus mate onto that wound just to make sure it's okay. There's a chance I can even take off this whole section of root, because actually this is quite a nice root structure underneath the tree. This is almost as thick as the trunk is, so it really doesn't help scaling the tree at all. I think I could could I remove it? I'd have to be careful where the scar was going to be, because that's the back of the tree. So I'm going to try and angle my cutters as much to the back as I can. Gone. Oh yeah, look at that. There's a root here which is really long and really thick. I am going to take it back at least to that junction where I've got nice branching roots happening. I've still got this really crazy knee that comes up over the soil surface. I need to have a think about that. Again, maybe I could just get rid of that whole section, because it doesn't really do anything, it sort of ends. But that is pretty much the front of the composition. I have to think about that one. There's a root here which is coming out from underneath. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to take off the one that comes right up and does a knee here. Can't really see the start of that root. Maybe I can track it back now I've cut it off. I don't want to cut all the character out of these. They are fun, but they're also too long and pretty bonkers. Because there's also a possibility that I might change the planting angle of this tree, so I don't want to leave myself with no options by pruning everything back to within an inch of its life. That is the front view. We've got that cut hidden, and we're going to do something about this cut. I actually quite like the idea of bringing it a little bit more that way rather than... That's almost sort of an orchard tree that's been pruned into that kind of wine glass shape. As I could drop this side, lift this side, which would... what would that do? That's going to lift all these crazy roots up. But I could, at the same time as doing that, I could bring it forward a bit more, which would bring these back down underneath the soil. That's got potential. So what I'll do then is I'll prune that root to a junction. That root to a junction. I mean, we know that my aim is to get this into a mame pot. I think it's going to be such a cute mame. But I don't want to leave it with no roots at all. That root comes backwards. Okay, I think for now that is enough root to have removed. I've taken a huge amount off there. Do I want to take that back a little bit further? There's no good branching on that piece, so yes, I'm going to come back to here. Good. I mean, you can see how stinking cute that's going to look in a pot that size. Oh, can I do it today? Oh. If I do it today, that's it. There's no more trunk growth going to happen. No, I'm going to pop it into a normal pot and give the roots a chance to recover. And then maybe next year. I don't fancy putting it into a normal flower pot. I think I would lose some of the work I've done on it. So, I think this pot that I got last Christmas, I'm going to use that. Plenty of room for the existing roots to go in. Room to expand, but it's not so very far away from a Mame pot. Yes. So I'm going to install my piece of mesh, and I've got a piece of wire that I'm going to use to secure the tree. I'm going to square it off a little bit first so that it sits nice and flat. It's better. Great. I've got my usual mixture of 2 parts Akadama to 1 part pumice, 1 part lava. So as I said, I want to straighten it, I think. Do I? Maybe not that much. And then drop the front down a little bit. I think it would be good to have that wire the other side of that root. Get that soil tamped in around all the roots, and then try to lift the back a little bit. Just to try and encourage those knee roots to come down into the soil a little bit. There we go. I think the crazy roots will always be a feature of this little tree. It would just be nice to try and tone them down a tiny bit. I am very excited because this is now so close to being in a Mame pot. This is a Shohin pot, but you know, we're edging there closer and closer. I'm not going to cut that wire. I'm going to leave it long so that I can remove it quite easily. It's so cute. I love this pot anyway, and to have this little tree in it just makes me really happy. I'm just going to move this round from the front view for you so that you can see this piece of growth. I'd kind of like to remove that it's not really adding anything to the taper, it's almost the same thickness as the piece below it that it's branching from. It does have a really nice piece coming off it that is finer. We've also got some nice little shoots coming at the base of it. So I could opt to cut it there and let these shoots grow on. It really is a bit chunky, isn't it? And it's almost a bit inverse taper. Let's take it all the way off. I'm going to remove this little branch as well. It's coming from underneath and is blocking the trunk. I think this little tree is really coming along. I think it's lovely. I'm going to pop a little bit of callus mate onto that cut. It's so tiny. Bless it. This tree makes me so happy. Oh, too cute. I've just added some moss to the soil surface. I've had a blackbird or possibly the robin in here during the week, and they have demossed most of the plants that I've got in here, including some of my carnivorous plants, and they've tried to dig up my dahlia tubers that I've just planted as well. So, not happy, thank you. I love the birds, but so I'm going to have to keep the greenhouse shut up for a little while, just until things get growing properly and the nesting season is in full swing. Look at that, it's so cute. This tree makes me so happy. Isn't that daft? It's such a little thing, but I love it. Right, well that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to me here on YouTube. And until next time, bye.